Okay, folks, how about we do take two with vocab video here, week 16 coming at you. Sorry about that the first time. Hopefully those of you who watched that first video, I wasn't doing anything really weird. And if I was, well, sorry about that. But I didn't realize you couldn't see my screen. I always check my video, but I usually just check that the sound is working, and I didn't check that the PowerPoint was actually working. So hopefully this time it will work. So I know your sheet says week 18. That is my bad. It should say week 16. And let's see if we can't share screen here to see this video. Okay, I'm hoping you can see that now, and you're not looking at me weirdly again. So this week we're going to start with the term sonnet. So sonnet is a word that is Italian, and it comes from the Italian word sonetto, which means little song. And it's just defined by basically a 14-line lyric poem, and it's written in iambic pentameter. Now, don't freak out. You're probably going, what is iambic pentameter? More will be discussed a little bit later on in the video about what pentameter means, and you're going to find out what the word iambic means coming in next week's set of words. But don't freak out about it. Just know it's written in iambic pentameter, and actually iambic pentameter is your heartbeat. It's the do-do, 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 do-do. Dr. Seuss likes to write in what we call iambic pentameter. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam, I am. Anyways, that was too much information. Sonetto, sonnet, means a little song from the Italian sonetto, and a 14-line lyric poem. The end. Okay, Petrarchan or Italian sonnet. So each of the two types of sonnets, specific types of sonnets, has two names. And that's because one of the names is after the person who created it, and the other is the country of origin. So sometimes it's called the Petrarchan sonnet, sometimes it's called the Italian sonnet. It started in Italy, and a man named Francesco Petrarch made it popular during the Italian Renaissance, and it later actually spread to England, and the English sonnet comes from the Italian sonnet. It is divided certain ways. It's divided into a group of 8 lines called an octave, and then a group of lines called a sestet. Now, when I say divided, sometimes in a sonnet there's a stanza break, but a lot of times there's not. So how do I know that it's divided into an octave, this group of 8 lines, and the sestet, this group of 6 lines? Well, the rhyme scheme of the sonnet can definitely tell you that it is a Petrarchan or Italian sonnet. So the rhyme scheme for this type of sonnet will be one of two things. It will either be the rhyme scheme in front of you, A, B, B, A, B, B, A, and then C, D, C, D, C, D, or it could be A, B, B, A, C, D, D, C, and then down here it would be C, D, E, C, D, E. One is not better or more right than the other. It's just sometimes Petrarchan sonnets use that variation. Almost always, no, always, at between lines 8 and 9, there is what we call the volta, or a turn, or a shift, which is actually one of your words for this week. Basically, something happens at this point in the sonnet. So, and this is right here. So, this could be like a question and an answer. This could be a theme and a comment on the theme. This could be a problem that's developed and then a solution that's presented here. But there's be some sort of a shift here that you should notice when you're reading the sonnet as well. Now, the Shakespearean sonnet, clearly invented by William Shakespeare, and in England. And this is sort of, it's just a variation of the Petrarchan sonnet, but it's got some unique characteristics. It is divided into 3 quatrains, and a quatrain is just a group of 4 lines, and then a couplet, a group of 2 lines. And it has this particular rhyme scheme here, and you can see it listed out in a couple of ways here. It's A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, G, G is the rhyme scheme here. Now, the turn or the shift can happen in one of 2 places here. Sometimes it happens in the same place as in the Petrarchan sonnet, which would be right here before, I guess after line 8, before line 9. Sometimes it doesn't happen until you get to the couplet, but sort of the same thing happens. This could be like a question answer and like a theme and comment or problem solution, whatever it might be. It's sort of set up the same way. 14 lines though, always the way to know if you are reading a sonnet, for sure. That gives it away. So this word I've used a couple of times now already in this video. So turn or volta or shift. Basically, it's just where you have a change in topic or focus or thought. In our sonnets, that's typically found at line 9. In other poetry, pay attention. This can be in a number of different places, but look for a place where there's clearly like a change in topic or a change in the way it feels, in that tone, because most poems will have some sort of a turn, and there's usually a reason why. Explication is our next term. And basically, do you remember how in prose we talk about annotating literature, right? Where we sort of unfold or make it clear or interpret through kind of a close reading? Well, when we do that in poetry, we call it explication. And basically it looks very similar to how it looks in prose. You can see just notes about different words here. For instance, there's some things that are highlighted along the way. But it's just a fancy word for poetry when you pull it apart, just like you do when you annotate prose. Okay, now it's going to get a little crazy because I'm going to hit on a couple of terms here because I can't really tell you one term without talking about some of the other terms. So scansion. Scansion is the way or the act of determining and writing out the meter of a verse, that rhythm that a poem has, the rhythm the line has. And this is done so through a pattern of accented and unaccented syllables. So accented and unaccented syllables I know is coming up on your sheet, so you might want to turn over and jot some notes about this now. An accented syllable is simply where it's a syllable that receives emphasis when you speak. Naturally, there's some syllables that we emphasize, and it sounds really weird if you try to emphasize others, right? If I'm talking about emphasizing syllables, you wouldn't say, I'm going to put the emphasis on the syllable, because I just emphasized different places and it made it sound like different words. And then an unaccented syllable is a syllable that does not receive the emphasis. So we write out scansion like this, like these little U's and these dashes, and we show that this is unaccented through the U, little U or cup, whatever you want to call it, and then we show that this is accented through the dash. Now, when you read it, it'll have sort of the sing-songy pattern to it because this goes unaccented, accented. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? If you try to do the opposite, it's really weird. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? It's hard for me to even do it because it's really unnatural. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. It's very natural in this way of speaking, but it doesn't always have to be unaccented followed by accented. Next week, we'll talk about different patterns for this because not all scansion is written out in the same pattern. But scansion just means this act of writing, of determining if syllables are accented or unaccented, and then just denoting that with these symbols above them. Okay, and a foot is basically just a unit for counting line length. So I'm going to go ahead to this one right away because I found this graphic and I thought this was helpful here. So it says, in literary terms, the foot refers to 2 or more syllables that together make up the smallest unit of rhythm in a poem. So 2 or more syllables. We're usually talking about 2 or 3. And there are fancy names if you have like an unaccented followed by an accented, or then like an accented followed by 2 unaccented syllables. There's fancy names for those patterns, and next week we're going to deal with that. But this week, I just wanted to give you this quick guide here, because if you have 1 foot in a line, we call it monometer. 2 feet, diameter. 3 feet, trimeter. 4 feet, tetrameter. 5 feet, pentameter. Hexameter, 6 feet. Heptameter is 7 feet. Octameter is 8 feet. So I mentioned earlier that sonnets are written in iambic pentameter. That simply means there are 5 feet in the line. We can divide that line into 5 sections where you have essentially equal numbers of of beats, of syllables, I should say. Again, trying not to jump ahead because it's a little bit confusing without going ahead to these terms like I am and anapest, and there's dactyl and trochee and all these crazy dinosaur sounding names. But hopefully at least that's enough for now. And then finally, accented and unaccented syllable. I kind of already covered this, but any place where we have this little U, we considered it unaccented. We're just not putting the emphasis on that syllable. And then where we have this little sort of dash here is an accented syllable. I hope this was okay. I tried to kind of keep this under 10 minutes. I know I rambled in the beginning a little bit, but I hope this was helpful for you. And let's go back to, okay, I think that's everything. Bring questions to class as always, but I think once we get through next week and the different types of feet, there are different crazy names for feet, then this will all become a little bit more clear. So anyways, see you soon.